Good morning, everybody. Welcome, beautiful souls, to another Wake Up Wednesday live here with me, Asiya Nasir, Chief Empowerment Officer at Jessica Cares, founder and author of my book, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, Who Am I After All? So welcome back. Welcome back to another Wake Up Wednesday here. We have a beautiful content that we're going to be talking about today that I'm really excited about in diving right into. And this one actually is a three-part. It's geared towards, it's on the same topic, but it's geared towards the teen girl. It's geared towards the mother, and then it's also targeted to those that are the women themselves, the women themselves. So sometimes we're mothers and we're teaching our daughters or mentors, so it's for that. Also for the women themselves and for the teen girls that our organization focuses on. And so for some of you that are new to this platform, I am the founder of Jessica Cares, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that our mission is to help empower teen girls and women, just to help build up their self-esteem and sense of self-worth, so when they show up in the world or in any space that might be, they're showing up the best versions of themselves, confident and secure in who they are, flaws and all. So today we're going to be talking about the social media trap, the social media trap, and how likes and followers affect self-esteem. I thought this was a very relevant topic, considering that girls are just starting school, and just, in general as women, how social media has become such a power tool that can work for good. I'm not saying, it's bad for everything, but it definitely has its cons as well. And so that's what we're going to be talking about, and how to counteract the cons that come with social media. And so I want to have a real conversation. I want to have a real conversation about how it's affecting our teen girls, how it's affecting us as mothers, and how it's affecting, us as women. With this whole social media thing, when I was growing up, there was no social media. We didn't have social media at all. Your social settings was who you created friends with, who your circle was with. That was your social media, right? We didn't have this virtual world, and this virtual world it does something to the self-esteem, because for many, social media likes will validate someone's beauty. Followers, define popularity, and views, the views that you get on your, that's why they have all these analytics and things like that. Views measure success. This is how we as humans are measuring success. I remember growing up, measuring success was based on the people that you impacted, the people that you interacted with. Did they leave better after seeing you and meeting with you and being with you than they did before? That was how we measured success. Now it's how many views. You know, Beauty was inner beauty. If you had standards and you had boundaries, and you stood up as a young lady for yourself and didn't have to fit in, that was what defined, um, beauty, who you was on the inside, and that would just exude on the outside. As well as, popularity wasn't based on how many followers you had. It was how many genuine friends you have, and how you interacted with people in the world. So it's a very different world, and it's affecting a lot of us in a negative way. And so today, what we're going to be discussing on Wake Up Wednesday is turning that around, how not to fall into that social media trap, and to regain that power of yourself, where you validate yourself, you own that, and not what people think of you or how people perceive you, or living up to something that is probably not realistic. So we're going to be tapping into all of those different things. And so I have 3 strategies that I want to share with our young teen girls. And so if your mom's tuning in and you're listening, sit down with your daughters and have this conversation with them. For any of our mentors out there, get your mentee, have a conversation. Even if you have to listen to the replay, this is powerful. what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get right into the social media trap, how likes and followers affect self-esteem. So we just kind of talked about that, how it affects self-esteem and how it's become so important. And even the language that's used, you see, how many followers do you have? Again, that's a trap. It makes you think that that's what defines popularity, if people like you or not, or if people are, nothing is organic anymore. It's about numbers, right? So I want to share 3 strategies today. And the first one is going to be specifically for our teen girls. Our teen girls really need to hear this one. And everything that I'm doing is going to be a challenge for you. And it's going to be different. It's going to be uncomfortable. And it's going to take you outside your comfort zone. Because today, people wake up and the first thing they do before they even brush their teeth, before they pray, is they go on their social media. They start scrolling, right? So the first challenge that I'm going to do is to ask you to turn that camera inward. This is strategy number 1, turning the camera inward. And what I mean by turning the camera inward is I don't want you to look at the outside world. And this challenge is for 7 days. So we're talking about a week. Now, a week goes by so fast, right? And I know for my teen girls, they're cringing. Like, what do you mean 7 days, right? But yes, 7 days. This is where we're going to turn the camera inward. And what I mean by turning the camera inward, it's going to be a selfie challenge. And I'm not talking about a selfie challenge where you're posting up your selfies. I'm talking about posting up not posting up anything, but actually taking pictures of yourself. And instead of posting them up for likes and, that kind of stuff, I want you to take 7 days and journal. Journal what makes you feel beautiful. When you look at yourself in that picture, what makes you feel beautiful? What makes you feel that you're smart? What makes you smart? What makes you strong? What have you overcome? What are you going through right now that you're still pushing through and still showing up every day, right? What makes you proud of yourself? What makes you proud of yourself? This is what I want you to do for 7 days. Look at what you accomplished that day. Whatever it is that you're doing, maybe you passed that test, maybe you overcame a fear that you had. When you woke up and you look at yourself in the mirror, I love that about myself. Maybe you have dimples, maybe you have, beautiful eyes, capturing eyes. Maybe it's your smile. But I want you to do that, not post it up. It's not about posting it up. It's about turning that camera inward, and it's almost metaphoric to turning inward, right? This is all private. This is just for you. And this is to validate yourself. This is to validate yourself before performing for others. Because a lot of times when we're posting up, it's okay, let me put on my, let me put on this show, let me put on this or whatever, right? We have to have the perfect background, we have to have the filters, we have to have this going on. I don't want you to do any of that. I just want you to take pictures of yourself each and every day, looking at yourself and finding what's beautiful about yourself inside and out. This is so you can validate yourself before putting it up in public, right? I want you to challenge yourself for 7 days to do that. And these are the questions that I want you to ask yourself. Not questions, things that you can write about. Today, I felt confident with, or I felt confident when. So when did you show up that day and you felt really confident? Like I said, stepping outside your comfort zone and you did it anyway. If I could post my truest self, right? With no filters. If I could post my truest self, I would look like, what would that look like? So these are just some things that you can put in your journal that I'm, just giving you some suggestions, or telling yourself, affirming yourself. I'm not a body. I'm not just a body or a face. I'm also, and we all know what our strengths are, whether we say them out loud or not. We know what our strengths are. And I know this for a fact because we just had a class with Jessica Cares with our girls. And that's what the challenge was, saying things out loud that you don't tell anyone, that you know and you love and actually like about yourself. And it wasn't hard for them. They knew what they loved about themselves. They knew what they liked about themselves, even though they never said it out loud. Now it's time to show up. If you can't show up for yourself, if you can't look at yourself, you're never going to show up in the world as your truest, beautiful, authentic self. And that's what we have to get away from. This social media trap has our teenage girls, have you teenage girls feeling like you have to look a certain way, be a certain way, live in a certain place, wear certain clothes and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with having nice things, but that does not define or validate your beauty, your gifts, your talents, the things that's unique to you. And if you can't embrace those things, you're gonna always be looking for validation externally. That's in friendships, intimate relationships, professionally even. And that's going to consume your life, is always looking for the external approval. You have to self-approve yourself. And so I want to challenge you girls for 7 days to just not post up anything, not post up any of your pictures. Just look at yourself for 7 days and journal what you love about yourself, what you admire about yourself, what you're proud of about yourself, those things that actually matter, right? And you're going to see after 7 days, it's more about how you feel about yourself, and you become very self-aware. And this is something that a lot of adults, men and women, some find extremely difficult to do. When you ask them who they are, they're actually rambling and stumbling because they have no clue of who the authentic, genuine person is anymore, because they live their life for external validation. They live their life for approvals of others. So you're going to be practicing something and implementing something that is going to make a world of difference for you, where you show up in the world proud of who you are, confident in who you are, no matter who's in the room, and knowing that you belong. Okay, so I want you to challenge yourself. That was for my teen girls. So that was strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is now for the mothers. I want the mothers to tune in. And if you're a mentor, if you're an auntie, if you're, like a mentor at a nonprofit that you're working with young girls, or you have a younger sister, this is for you. So this is strategy number 2. And I want you to do something with your teen girls, your aunt, your niece, or your mentee, or whoever that young special lady is in your life. I want you to do something that I think needs to be done more often. And that's and I use the word audit, but I wouldn't use that word with the girls. Audit the feed together, or look at the feed together, right? Her feed, her feed, who she's following. I want you to sit down with your daughter, your mentee, your niece, or your younger sister. And I want you to go through their social media page, like who they're following. And this is not to make them feel like you're going to judge them, or that you're going to police who they're following. That's not what this is for, right? But what I want you to do is to ask them the following questions, like when it comes to who they're following and things like that. And if you're friends with them, you can actually see who they're following. But ask them questions like this. This is really important, because this is going to bring about an awareness. Now it's not just following people because they're quote unquote popular, but now this is bringing an awareness to your teen baby, to let them be more conscious of who they're following and how that is actually affecting them negatively or positively. So one of the questions that you can ask with your teen or your mentee or baby: how does this content make you feel when you see it? When you go on this person's page, or you go on this particular page, how does this page make you feel? Is it positive? Is it negative? Does it make you feel like you have to compare yourself, right? Because we do. Sometimes we look at pages and we're actually comparing ourselves. Do we measure up to whatever this person is saying or doing, right? So ask them, and before you do that, make it a safe space. Allow them to be free in their responses without judgment. Because once they feel like you're going to judge them based on their responses, they're going to shut down. So you have to embrace and be intentional about, even if you hear things that you're like, oh Lord, right? You want to be able to let them be free in telling you that. Let them be free in sharing that with you. So, asking them, when you are on this page, when you follow this person, how does it make you feel? Right? Another question that you can ask is, do you think that this person's life that you're watching or making comparisons. Do you feel that this is their real life, or do you feel like this is created purposely for social media? Ask them and let them be genuine, even if you know for a certainty that it is curated and this is not real. To them it is. Their brain is still developing. They don't have the foresight, they don't have the wisdom or experience to understand that certain things are not real. Everything is real as teenagers. That's why when things happen to them, they feel like it's the all and be all, it's the end of the world when something happens, because for them it is, and that's their reality. So we have to accept that that is their reality. So when we ask that question, it's not to make fun of them, it's not to laugh at them and make them feel like they're silly for feeling like maybe it's real. But we know that a lot of these pages are, and this is an opportunity for you to be able to show them maybe how it's not real. Maybe there's a footage, or maybe there's an interview, or maybe there's some other content that would actually showcase the fact that the person who is in front of them, that your teen girl or your mentee is so in love with, that's a negative influence, how their life is just curated for the sole purpose of your baby watching them in influences and having followers. It's not real. It's not real. A lot of the pictures are filtered. I've seen it where they've Googled pictures where the filters come on, and these people that they think have the absolute perfect body, how it's not. They have stretch marks. They're not as thin in certain places as they think. Some of them have gotten, body work done. It's not real, right? So we have to be able to have those conversations with them, but in a loving way and with grace, right? Letting them know that they're teenagers and that you're just having this conversation because you want them to understand that everything they see on social media that they're comparing themselves to and maybe putting themselves down for is not real, and allowing that awareness to become apparent to them, right? Another question that you can ask is, just asking them, what makes you follow this page? And when you scroll and you see what's on this page, or when you particularly go to this page, does it inspire you, or does it make you feel pressure? Does it make you feel like you're not enough? Does it make you feel you have to measure up? These are real conversations that you're having. This is where you get to really know your child and what's happening with them. They're living in a different world than many of us lived in growing up. Like I said, I didn't even have social media growing up. So their reality is not necessarily our reality as mothers and mentors and so forth. So, really having a conversation when what makes you want to follow this person? And again, no judgment. Remind them this is not to judge you, make you feel bad. I really just want to know, right? So when they're sharing these conversations, now is when you're listening to them and you want them to listen to you as well. This now brings an awareness. And once you're brought aware of something, it's really hard to shake that off. It's really hard to act like you didn't hear that, right? Let her talk, so that way when you start talking, you have an even plane of that level of respect. I heard you out, and I want you to hear what I have to say, right? This is just a conversation. This is not a punishment. You're not going to be punished for it. This is just a conversation. So that way they know you are a safe space to go to and speak to, right? What we have to help our young teen girls is to reframe social media as a tool and not a trap. It's a trap for some of our girls. It's a trap that they have to look a certain way, be a certain way, live a certain way, dress a certain way. Their body has to be this way. Social media has a lot of negative influence while they have positivities in it. But that's not what this is about. It's about the negativities that does come with social media, especially as it relates to our girls, right? Letting them see that social media should be a tool and not a trap. And how do you do that? You do it together, not do it for them, but actually share some pages with them that you think are positive, and get there. When you're looking at this, how does this make you feel? Do you think this is inspiring? Is this something that you would want to see every day before you go to school, or when you're having a hard day, right? Is this a page well, why don't I want to follow them too? You want to follow them together? Do something like that, where now you're creating positivity. positive vibes, something that now when they're on social media, it's not going to make them feel pressured. It's not going to make them feel like they have to live up to something and validate their approval based on if they look like this person or live like this person. Now they're following pages along with you that you can say, did you see that post today? Or, things like that, where now you can have positive conversations about content that they're watching. And this is where now social media becomes a positive tool. Because as I mentioned before, social media has its pros and cons, right? So we have a comment here. Walaikum salam, sis, from Seisha. Seisha said, I appreciate these jewels that you're dropping for our young people. Actually, it's good for adults too, because I'm getting ready to get into strategy number 3, and that's for us. That's for us women here. Because our girls, oftentimes they mirror their moms. They do. They mirror us because we're the first teachers of what a woman should look like, what a woman should conduct herself as. This is what they're emulating, right? So if we're not confident in ourselves and we're validating ourselves based on external factors and looking for approvals outside of ourselves, our young girls, whether we tell them that or not, they're watching. They're definitely watching. And so I know for a fact there were certain things before I got to a place of, self-acceptance and awareness and things like that, things that I did because I had my kids in my early 20s, mid-20s. I had all of my kids in my 20s. It's very young. I was still growing and developing and, dealing with things, or I should say lack of dealing with things while I was raising my babies. And so unbeknownst to me, I taught them things that I never wanted for them and had to, they had to see me go through that process of unlearning those patterns and then showing them how to do it better, right? Here is, you have an opportunity, women, for yourself to be the way shower, to be the role model, to be the example that our young girls are going to watch. The very thing we tell young boys is, we can't teach you how to be a man. A man can do that. It's the same with girls. Men can teach our girls certain things as it relates to what men look for and things, but they can't teach them the essence of being a woman. Only we as women can do that, and teaching our daughters, right? So as women, I want you to do something if you're struggling with this, because make no mistake about it, if you've not dealt with this in your younger age, you will do this as adults. You will have the same struggle, and it will appear and manifest itself in different places, including social media. So what I'm challenging you, how strategy number 1 was for the girls and I had them detox for 7 days. Here is what I want you to do. I want you to detox, but with a purpose. I want you to detox from social media completely. For the girls, I didn't say that they couldn't do social media, because I know that was going to be a hard challenge. They wasn't going to be able to pull away from it, but I didn't want them to post anything. As far as their selfies, I wanted the selfies to be more for themselves in private. Here, I want you to detox from social media completely, even if you run a business. Because if you're running a business and you're marketing it the way that you should, you can actually detox from social media for a couple of days. When you look at these powerful people and successful people, they are not on social media every day. Denzel Washington even said it. And Denzel Washington doesn't even have a social media page, and it hasn't taken 1 ounce of his success away. So this can be done, and we ain't on Denzel level, right? So I want you to take a page from that, and I want you to hear me out. I want you to detox, and I've done this before myself, and I have multiple social media pages. Detox for a minimum of 3 days, a 3-day detox, digital detox. And that's to go offline. But it's not just to go offline. I want you to replace that time that you're scrolling and looking and comparing and all of the stuff that we do when we're on social media, or wasted time scrolling. I want you to fill that space with things that's going to reconnect you with you. It's your time. I want you to reconnect with you. Each day that you detox, I want you to do one of the following, if not all, but at least one of the following. And I actually wrote it down. So These days, these 3 days that you're detoxing, I want you to do one of these things. Read 10 pages of a book. 10. And I know a lot of people don't read, but I'm telling you, when they say reading is fundamental, let me tell you, read 10 pages a day from a book that nourishes and empowers your soul. It'll make a difference. The gems, the aha moments, the you're going to get all of that. So imagine doing that for 3 days, reading 10 pages. That's 30 pages for that 3 days. Some of us haven't read 30 pages in the last 3 years. Think about that. You have not put something in you. You haven't nourished yourself. And I'm not telling you what book to read. I'm telling you, you choose a book that's going to nourish your soul. That could be a book of faith. That could be an empowerment book, of any book that's going to nourish your soul. I want you to detox from social media for 3 days. And then I want you to replace that with reading a book, 10 pages a day. Or listen to a playlist. Listen to a playlist that speaks life into you, not trends. Speaks life into you. They have a lot of audiobooks out there. They have a lot of podcasts out there that could be on your playlist. Or there are some affirmations. There's some affirmation things on YouTube that actually allows you. Well, no, we're not doing YouTube. We're not doing YouTube because that's digital. But I want you to listen to a playlist that could be even on Pandora, listening to something that's going to speak life into you and not about trends. I want us to detox from that, right? So that's one thing you could do. Or if you're not just unplugging, plug back into something that you gave up a long time ago, that really manifested your inner strength, your things like that, things that you proud of. Maybe it was a hobby or something that you really enjoy doing, but plugging back into you. So while you're unplugging from social media, the digital world, I want you to plug back into something that fed your soul. That could be a hobby, that could be something that you did, even if it's charitable work, something that fed your soul. That's what I want you to replace it. Because again, when you remove something, you have to replace it with better. That's even how our Creator deals with us. When He removes something from us, He replaces it with something better. We can take a page from that, right? So do that. When you do this, it's not just, as I mentioned before, about unplugging in the digital world. It's plugging back and reconnecting with you and bringing you an awareness. And here's the caveat to all of this. After the 3 days, I want you to assess now, what did those 3 days look like? What did you notice in those 3 days? What did you miss? Did you miss anything? What you didn't miss? Because there's a lot of times when I detox from social media, let me tell you, it's a weight, because it's heavy. It is heavy, right? So what did I miss? What did I didn't miss? And what do I want to change moving forward? What do I want to change moving forward, right? See, absence reveals what presence masks. So when you're in it, you can't see it. But when you remove yourself from it and you're kind of like, you see a bird's eye view, you're able to actually see what it really is and not what you thought it was when you were inundated with it, right? So that's what I want each of you to do. So you have 2 books that you recommend. So Seisha said, I have 2 books, Rest in Resistance and Her, Healed, Empowered, and Resilient. Each of those books you can get right on Amazon. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Seisha, for recommending that. But yes, if you want a book that's really going to pour into your soul, empower you, make you have different perspectives, challenge your perspectives for something positive, those are some good books. And I can attest to the at least Her, Healed, Empowered, Resilient. I'm actually gonna look at that. Rest is Resistance. I am going to actually get that book now that you've recommended that. So because I love reading, and reading has really changed my life. I've always been a reader since I was little, and it really makes a difference, and it brings an awareness that you couldn't even imagine just from reading. So understand, for our teen girls, for our women, peace, inner peace, That's the real flex. That's the real flex. The real flex comes from having inner peace, right? What I want you to understand in closing, because I have to close out now because I have to go on Instagram and do this, but I want you to understand that you're not just a like, you're not just a follower count, and you're not just an algorithm. You are a whole beautiful soul that has so much to offer the world. And if you don't tap into that, and if you don't see that, your life is just going to be just a form of existence, just a form of existence. And so many of us on the outside are going to miss out on everything you had to offer because you couldn't see the beauty within yourself, because you fell into the social media trap. So once you unplug, you're going to unplug all of the lies, and the truth is going to rise about who you are, what you have to offer, and the gifts that only you can give to the world. All right? And knowing, more importantly, knowing that you are enough. So that is what I wanted to share with you on this Wake Up Wednesday today. Stay tuned, because in 2 weeks we're gonna have, because I come on every other Wednesday. Stay tuned for the next one, because it's going to be another conversation that we can really have aha moments and really take a look at ourselves and have that reset button to wake up and do things better, show up better, and be better, right? We can always do that. That's what life is about. It's just about growing, learning, and trying to be the best versions of ourselves. If you missed it, you can always listen to our live here on replay on our YouTube channel, which is Jessica Cares 1. Go subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss another Wake Up Wednesday live here with us, and to be able to share, like we see Seisha contributed to the conversation today and brought some real positive energy, and even some recommendations for us to read. So this is all about family and giving and helping one another. So make it an intentional day to be, the best version of yourself. Think about and marinate on what was said today, and have those discussions with one another that need to be had, and implementing the things so that you can really see the change and the impact that you can actually make, void of external validation and approval. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon, God willing, in a couple of weeks.